Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Broke is not a bank account. It's a mindset. It's not a number. It's a habit. It's not your situation. It's your system of belief. Most people aren't broke because they're cursed. They're broke because they've made peace with the very things that keep them poor. They've normalized survival. They've romanticized struggle. And worst of all, they've spiritualized stagnation. Let me be real with you. Being broke is not a badge of honor. It is not humility. It is not God's test. And it is definitely not a requirement for being a good person. So why do most people stay broke? Because the truth is, most people are more afraid of wealth than they are of poverty. They don't fear failure. They fear change. They don't fear not having. They fear being responsible once they do. They don't want the pressure of managing abundance, so they settle for the comfort of lack. You see, being broke gives you excuses. It gives you permission to blame the world, to blame your past, your parents, the economy, the government. But being wealthy, that forces you to take ownership, to step up, to discipline your impulses. And most folks, they don't want that. They want the applause without the accountability. Most people stay broke because they don't understand this one truth. You do not rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your habits. And let's talk about those habits. Waking up at noon and scrolling for hours. That's not harmless. That's expensive. Living paycheck to paycheck because you deserve to treat yourself. That's not self-care. That's self-sabotage. And don't get me started on this toxic loyalty to things that don't serve you. Loyal to friends who drain you. Loyal to entertainment that numbs you, loyal to environments that keep you mentally, spiritually, and financially stuck. Most people stay broke because they're working for money, but they're not working on themselves. They hustle all day to make ends meet, but won't spend 1 hour learning how money actually works. They know every lyric to every chart-topping song, but can't explain compound interest. They binge on Netflix, but think reading a financial book is too much. And let me tell you what Steve Harvey said, and I'll never forget this. Your career is what you're paid for. Your calling is what you're made for. But you can't walk in your calling if you're always hustling to survive. You can't become your best self if you're always stuck in survival mode. Let's be honest, most people don't stay broke because they don't know what to do. They stay broke because doing it would require a version of themselves they've never met. A version that doesn't hit snooze 10 times. A version that says no to the club and yes to the class. A version that invests before it impresses. A version that doesn't need validation from broke friends to make wealthy moves. Let me speak to the men for a second. Fellas, you are not put here just to grind, groan, and die. You are more than your job, more than your paycheck, more than your past. You are the seed of legacy. But a man who refuses to grow his mind will never grow his money. You can't lead a family if you can't first lead yourself. And to the ladies, you are not expensive. You are valuable. There's a difference. And if he can't see the value you bring beyond your looks, then he's already costing you more than you can afford. Some of you have been shrinking your standards, your dreams, your voice because you're afraid of being too much. Let me tell you something. The right rooms will never call you too much. They'll call you just enough. And you want to know why you're broke? Because you keep trying to fit in rooms that were never built to fund your vision. You keep asking for support from people who can't even support themselves. Stop begging for bread at the table of the stingy. Build your own table. Most people stay broke because they treat their mind like a garbage can. They feed it negativity, gossip, drama, fear. You want a rich life? Start by feeding your mind rich thoughts. Read what the wealthy read. Study what the disciplined study. Learn what the free have mastered. You know what rich people do differently? They don't trade time for money. They trade ideas for income. They build systems. They create value. They solve problems. Broke people wait to be rescued. Wealthy people build boats. You can't be financially free if you're mentally enslaved. That's why broke people stay broke. Their chains aren't around their wrists. They're around their minds. They believe the lie that money is evil. They believe that wanting more is greedy. They believe that abundance is not for people like us. Let me set the record straight. Money is not evil. The love of money is. Money is a tool. It amplifies what's already inside of you. If you're kind, money will help you bless others. If you're selfish, money will only expose it. So don't blame the money, blame the mindset. And don't get me wrong, hard times happen. But staying broke isn't about what happened to you. It's about what you continue to allow. Some of y'all are broke because you haven't forgiven your father. You haven't healed from that betrayal. You haven't broken up with that version of yourself who accepted crumbs and called it love. Your wallet will never be full if your heart is still bleeding. Some of you are in love with struggle. You don't realize it, but because struggle gives you identity. Struggle gives you attention. Struggle gives you something to talk about. But abundance, that's quiet, that's consistent, that's boring until it isn't. We've glamorized hustle. We've deified the grind. But let me tell you something. If the hustle doesn't lead to healing, it's just another form of slavery. Most people stay broke because they never ask better questions. Instead of how can I afford this, they say I can't afford it. Instead of who can teach me, they say I'll never learn this. Instead of what's the lesson, they say why me? And life will always answer the question you ask it. Ask broke questions, get broke answers. But you have the power to change the narrative. Start asking teaching. How can I multiply what's in my hands? Who's already doing what I dream of doing? What sacrifices must I make for the next 5 years so I can live free for the next? Because here's the truth. Most people stay broke because they keep planting seeds of comfort and expecting a harvest of freedom. Discipline is the tax you pay for wealth. Sacrifice is the currency of success. Consistency is the language of freedom. If you're not willing to pay the price, don't expect the prize. Let me say something that might sting. You're not broke because you're unlucky. You're broke because you've built a lifestyle that your mindset can't support. But the good news, that mindset can change today, right now. You don't need $1 million to think like a millionaire. You just need vision, belief, and the courage to kill the excuses. Kill the laziness, kill the victim mentality, kill the idea that someone's coming to save you, because no one is. And here's the secret. You need awakening. Awaken your gifts. Awaken your grind. Awaken your greatness. Because staying broke is optional, but living fulfilled, that's your birthright. So if you've heard nothing else today, hear this. You were not born to be broke. You were born to break limits, to break cycle, to break generational curses, to break barriers, and to break through. Most people stay broke because they accept life as it is. But you were built to create life as it could be. Don't die with your dream inside you. Don't pass on poverty because you were too afraid to confront your patterns. Don't leave this earth full of regrets, wondering what could have happened if you had just believed. This is your moment, not next year, not when you have more time, not when the market is better. Now, break free, break out, break through, because the real flex isn't designer clothes. It's financial peace. It's options. It's being able to walk away from any situation because your wealth is within you. And when you build that kind of wealth, you'll never be broke again, not in your mind, not in your wallet, and not in your soul. Let me keep it real with you. Some of you think you have a money problem, but what you really have is a mindset malfunction. You've been programmed to believe that suffering is noble, that barely getting by is somehow more righteous than building wealth, that poverty makes you more spiritual. But let me tell you something. There is nothing holy about being broke. Do you know what's holy? Feeding the hungry, lifting your family out of generational struggle, funding your dream without begging for loans, paying your bills on time, with peace in your spirit and surplus in your account. That's what wealth gives you. Options, power, peace. But most people never taste that peace because they keep choosing crumbs when they were born to own the table. You were created with the ability to produce wealth, but wealth is not given, it's grown. It's cultivated in the soil of self-control. It's watered with discipline. It's protected by purpose. Most people stay broke because they keep chasing money, but never develop character. Let me tell you something. The money you pray for will expose the you refuse to fix. If you're impulsive with $100, you'll be reckless with $10,000. If you lie to cover bills now, you'll steal when the stakes are higher. If you envy people today, you'll sabotage yourself tomorrow. That's why real wealth starts within. It doesn't begin in your wallet. It begins in your values. And if your values are rotten, your wealth won't last. That's why you see people win the lottery and go broke. That's why you see celebrities make millions and die in debt. Because money amplifies character, not replaces it. So if you want to stop being broke, don't just change your hustle, change your habits. What time do you wake up? What do you read? Who are you around? What are you learning? Where is your money going? Because I guarantee if I look at your routine, I can tell you your future. Let me say that again. Your routines are louder than your resolutions. And this isn't about shaming anybody. This is about waking up, because some of y'all are out here treating money like a mystery, but it's not. It's a math problem. And it's solved by learning, unlearning, and relearning what they never taught you in school. They taught you how to take orders, not how to own. They taught you how to clock in, not how to cash out. They trained you to be a worker, not a wealth builder. And if you don't reprogram yourself, you'll pass that same broken system down to your kids. Let me talk to the parents. Your children are watching how you manage stress. They're watching how you talk about money. If all they hear is, "We can't afford that," money doesn't grow on trees, or people like us will never be rich, then congratulations, you're planting poverty in the next generation. But if they hear, "We're learning to invest, we're building wealth step by step, we make our money work for us," then you're planning a future that looks nothing like your past. You don't have to pass down pain. You can pass down power, but you gotta choose it. Because let's be honest, most people stay broke because they never sit still long enough to build anything. They're addicted to movement, not progress. They're constantly switching plans, chasing hype, quitting when it's hard. But wealth doesn't respond to hype. It responds to habits. It's built slowly, quietly, in moments no one claps for, in decisions no one sees. It's built when you say no to temporary pleasure for permanent freedom. When you say no to impulsive spending and yes to long-term investing. When you say no to impressing strangers on Instagram and yes to stacking real assets. Let me tell you, it's not sexy. It's not exciting, but that's where the magic is. Because wealth is boring before it's brilliant. It looks like packed lunches. It looks like missing parties. It looks like saying, "I can't go," while you're building what they'll one day envy. So stop comparing your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. You don't need their story. You need your focus. You don't need their applause. You need your discipline. You don't need their approval. You need your why. Because if your why is strong enough, the how will show up. And don't you ever forget this. You are not meant to be a slave to survival. You were born to thrive, to create, to overflow, to become the answer to someone else's prayer. But you cannot give from an empty place. And that's why most people stay broke, because they're so busy surviving. They never get the time to build. But you can choose differently right here, right now. Stop shrinking. Stop doubting. Stop waiting. Start building. Because broke is not your identity. It's your interruption. It's your wake-up call. It's your signal that something has to change. And change doesn't begin with the world. It begins with you. Let me take you deeper. You've been told you're behind because you don't have enough money. But the truth is, you're behind because you've been trained to value the wrong things. You were taught to value looking rich over being rich. You were taught to value popularity over purpose. You were taught to value entertainment over education. And now you wonder why your life feels stuck on repeat. Because you keep feeding your distractions and starving your destiny. Let me be clear. If you are more familiar with celebrity gossip than wealth principles, that's not entertainment. That's a financial emergency. Because listen, broke people don't just have empty wallets. They have overcrowded minds filled with noise. They have broken belief systems passed down like family heirlooms. They have spiritual holes they try to fill with stuff. And here's the worst part. Most broke people don't even know they're broke. Because broke doesn't always look like dirty clothes and no food. Sometimes broke wears designer. Sometimes broke drives a Benz. Sometimes broke lives in a house that's a trap disguised as success. Because we've mastered how to perform wealth, but not how to build it. We live in a world that will celebrate your rented image while your real life collapses in silence. Let me tell you something. Wealth is not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Wealth is quiet confidence. It's peace of mind. It's walking into a store and not checking your account. It's sleeping at night because you're not 5 missed calls deep into debt. But most people never taste that kind of wealth because they're emotionally broke too. They stay in toxic relationships out of financial fear. They overwork to avoid being alone with their thoughts. They buy things to impress people whose opinions don't pay a single bill. So if you want to stop being broke, you need more than a budget. You need to break the addiction to approval. You need to stop trying to belong where your purpose doesn't fit. Listen to me, you can't build wealth in the same environment that broke your vision. Some of you are broke because of who you let speak into your life. You let people without goals advise you. You let people with no discipline influence your decisions. You surround yourself with people who treat growth like a threat instead of an invitation. Let me say this loud and clear. Your circle is your ceiling. You will never rise higher than the level of expectation around you. You can't keep flying with pigeons and wonder why you're not soaring like an eagle. Some of y'all need to audit your friendships like you audit your finances. Ask yourself, Gate, do they challenge me? Do they inspire me? Do they call me higher? If the answer is no, it's time to make a withdrawal, not from the bank, but from the bonds that keep you broke. Because broke is not just about dollars, it's about discipline. It's about who you allow to influence your rhythm. It's about what you prioritize when no one's watching. Most people stay broke because they major in minor things. They're experts in gossip, scholars of procrastination, top tier in excuses. But here's the reality. Your future doesn't care about your excuse. It only responds to your execution. You keep saying, I don't have the time, but you had time to scroll for 4 hours yesterday. You keep saying, I don't know where to start, but you never picked up a single free resource that could teach you. You keep saying, I'm not ready, but you've been preparing for a lifetime. The only thing missing is your decision, because there comes a moment where you have to stop praying for a breakthrough and start becoming one. Let me say that again. Stop waiting for the blessing. Become the builder. Get uncomfortable. Get in the room. Start with what you have, because what you have, no matter how small, is enough to begin. And let me be real. Beginning doesn't feel good. The early days of building wealth, they feel like isolation. They feel like doubt. They feel like loss of parties, of approval, of sleep. But eventually, they feel like options. They feel like freedom. They feel like legacy. So don't run from the pain of the process, because broke people do that every day. And guess what? They stay stuck broke and bitter. But builders, they endure. They grind in silence. They stretch when it hurts. They trust the process even when it's dark, because they know discipline will do for them what emotion never could. Let me give you this truth, and don't you ever forget it. Wealth isn't built in motivation. It's built in movement. You don't need to feel ready. You need to be committed. You need to be relentless. You need to stop asking for approval and start acting like you belong at the table, because you do. But here's the catch. You don't get to keep complaining and keep your limitations. You must choose either your comfort or your calling, either your past or your potential, either your excuses or your elevation, because both cannot live in the same space. So if you're tired of being broke, not just in your bank account, but in your mind, your vision, your energy, then make the decision right now, not tomorrow, not when your friend is ready, not when the economy looks better, now, because this life will not wait. Opportunity is rented, and rent is due every single day. So get up, get focused, and get to building the life you were born for. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more broke. You've got too much vision to stay stuck, too much fire to stay average, too much legacy to die empty. Let me tell you something. Most broke people never learn. You don't get rich by doing more. You get rich by becoming more focused, more disciplined, more intentional, more obsessed with execution than with excuses. See, most people think if they just hustle harder, the money will come. But hustle without clarity is like running on a treadmill. You're sweating, but you're not going anywhere. Let me ask you, do you have a goal or do you have a GPS? Because a goal without direction is just a dream dressed in frustration. And most people stay broke because they don't have strategy. They don't have systems. They don't even have standards. They just hope, wish, pray, but never plan. And listen, prayer is powerful, but prayer without preparation is spiritual laziness. You don't ask God to bless a business and refuse to learn how one works. You don't ask for wealth and run from wisdom. You don't ask for elevation and keep sleeping in. That's not faith. That's fantasy. If you want to stop being broke, you have to stop being comfortable with confusion. Some people stay broke not because they don't know better, but because knowing better would force them to take responsibility. And responsibility requires maturity. It requires sacrifice. It requires telling yourself the truth, even when it hurts. Let me say this as plain as I can. You can't be free and fragile at the same time. You can't walk in power and still play the victim. You can't talk legacy while making broke decisions every weekend. You can't claim to want change while protecting the same patterns that destroy your progress. You see, every time you say yes to something small, you're saying no to something greater. Every impulsive purchase is a no to financial freedom. Every late night with no purpose is a no to your energy the next morning. Every friendship that drains you is a no to the relationships that could build you. Your life is the sum total of what you've been saying yes and no to. And until you get radical about your priorities, you will stay broke. You'll keep recycling the same pain and calling it life. You'll keep dragging yourself through survival and calling it strength. But strength isn't how long you can suffer. Strength is the ability to say, I deserve better than this, and I'm willing to fight for it. Some of you are in financial pain because you're addicted to what's easy. Easy to swipe the card, easy to go out every weekend, easy to avoid that tough conversation, easy to scroll, to delay, to numb yourself with distractions. But easy now always leads to hard later. Easy is seductive, but it's expensive. It costs you time. It costs you health. It costs you your vision. It costs you the version of yourself you were supposed to become. Let me ask you this. What is your broke mindset costing you right now? Opportunities, time with your kids, confidence, peace, your purpose, because every decision has a price and you are paying daily with your life. So here's the question. Are you investing in your future or are you financing your failure? Most people stay broke because they treat success like a lottery, something only the lucky get. But success isn't luck, it's law. And laws don't care about your background. They don't care about your race, your age, your past. They care about your alignment. If you align with the principles of wealth, saving, investing, learning, growing, you win. If you align with the principles of poverty, spending without thinking, blaming others, avoiding responsibility, you lose. It's that simple. Success is not biased, but it is brutal because it doesn't reward intentions, it rewards action. And let me tell you something about action. Most people don't fail because they did too much. They fail because they waited too long. They waited for perfect timing. They waited for clarity. They waited for support. They waited for the fear to go away. But let me be straight with you. Fear doesn't go away. You just get stronger than it. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop asking permission. You stop playing small to protect fragile egos around you. You rise. You decide. You move, even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble. You do it scared. You do it broke. You do it alone. But you do it because most people stay broke not for lack of opportunity, but because they never gave themselves permission to stay. And don't let anyone lie to you. You don't need more resources. You need more resourcefulness. You need to look at what's in your hands. That phone, that's a business. That skill, that's a service. That story, that's a book, a brand, a breakthrough. You already have what you need now. You need to stop doubting what's inside you. Let me talk to the entrepreneur who's afraid to post their product. Do it. Let me speak to the mother who wants to go back to school. Apply. Let me push the dreamer with the notebook full of ideas. Launches, because every day you wait, somebody else is building the life you keep dreaming about. And it's not that they're better, it's that they're bolder. And boldness doesn't come from being fearless. It comes from having something so worth fighting for you refuse to quit. That's what wealth is. Wealth is refusing to live another year explaining why you're still stuck. Wealth is walking into every room knowing your price went up because your mindset leveled up. Wealth is living on your terms, not surviving on theirs. So if you're tired of being broke, you've got one job. Don't settle, not for mediocrity, not for survival, not for another year of going in circles. You deserve to wake up excited, to look at your bank account and see options, to give without fear, to build without begging, to walk away from anything that doesn't serve your peace. But you'll never get there with the same thinking that got you here. So upgrade your thoughts, sharpen your discipline, raise your standard, because once your standard changes, your bank account will. And let me tell you this, loud and clear, you don't rise to wealth, you build it, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day, and you build it with invisible tools most people never talk about: patience, restraint, delayed gratification, the power to say not right now so you can one day say whenever I want. But you won't find these tools in motivational quotes. You find them in discipline during darkness, in the lonely mornings when nobody sees you grinding, in the rejections you survive without quitting, in the temptations you resist because your future is more important than your feelings. That's where wealth begins, not in your bank app, but in your backbone. And that's why most people stay broke, because they keep chasing the visible and ignoring the invisible. They want the mansion, but won't master their mouth. They want financial overflow, but can't handle a quiet season. They want the praise, but won't endure the process. And here's the truth. The process isn't supposed to feel good. It's supposed to feel necessary, because you don't grow in comfort. You grow in conflict. You grow in friction. You grow when you get sick and tired of your own excuse. Listen, there comes a moment in every man's life where he has to decide, am I going to be the reason my family stays stuck, or the reason they finally break free? And every woman must answer the question, am I going to keep making myself small so others feel comfortable, or will I rise and show them what's possible? Because this isn't just about money. This is about breaking cycles. This is about rewriting the narrative your last name has carried for generations. Some of you were born into dysfunction, into chaos, into lack. But listen to me. It may not be your fault, but it is now your fight. And the way you fight is by learning what they never taught. You fight by refusing to repeat what broke you. You fight by educating yourself in silence, then shocking them with results. Because the best revenge against a broke mindset is a life fully funded by purpose. You want to flex, build wealth so your mother never works again, so your children never have to beg, so your spouse never has to question if you'll come through. Let your abundance speak for you. Let your character be louder than your income. Let your peace be your profit. Because real wealth isn't about buying more, it's about needing less. It's about owning your time. It's about having enough margin in your life to choose what matters over what pays. And yet, most people will never know that kind of freedom, not because they can't, but because they keep choosing crumbs over calling. So let me ask you, what are you tolerating that's keeping you broke? Tolerating small thinking, tolerating toxic relationships, tolerating undisciplined days and unchallenged beliefs. Because until you get mad enough, nothing will move. And I'm not talking about anger that burns out. I'm talking about righteous anger, the kind that wakes you up, the kind that says not one more day like this, the kind that breaks through every generational lie you've inherited. Let me tell you, when you get tired enough, you stop playing cute with your life. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. You stop tiptoeing around your potential, because comfort is the enemy of calling. And comfort has tricked more people into staying broke than poverty ever has. You see, real success doesn't scream, it whispers. It says, wake up earlier, say no to that party, cut up the credit card, pick up that book, show up even when nobody claps, build that thing that only you were assigned to build. And most people will miss it because they're too busy scrolling, gossiping, comparing, waiting. But you're still listening, you're still here, you're still reading, because something inside you knows this isn't just a video, it's a verdict over your future, a verdict over the lies that kept you small, a verdict that says enough is enough. So let this be your line in the sand. No more broke thinking, no more broke talking, no more broke choices. You've outgrown them. And yes, people will talk. They'll say you changed. They'll say you're different. Good. That means it's working. Because if everyone around you still understands you, it means you haven't grown big enough yet. Growth will cost you familiarity. It will offend those who were comfortable with your confusion. It will expose those who liked you better, broke, because they were never intimidated by your silence, only by your success. So let them talk, because while they talk, you'll be building. While they doubt, you'll be investing. While they laugh, you'll be planting seeds. They'll one day wish they had the courage to sow. And when the harvest comes, when the money is real, when the freedom is visible, when your children's children are living in overflow, don't gloat. Don't boast, just smile, because you know this didn't happen overnight. This didn't come easy. This didn't fall from the sky. You fought for it. You bled for it. You broke patterns for it. You sacrificed sleep, friends, comfort, and applause for it. And now you never have to be broke again. Not in your bank account, not in your spirit, not in your identity, because wealth lives in you. And once it's awakened, you'll never be the same. So let this be your declaration. I am not broke. I am becoming. I am building. I am done settling. I am done surviving. I am walking in abundance. Not someday, not maybe. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is why most people stay broke, but this is why you won't.